we were safe. I mean, I'll let the other kids go if they want without me. That's how safe it was. But yeah, just overall, great experience, and we can't thank you enough for letting us go. You know, as a former Giles student, this was never in the realm of possibility. So now I'm here, and I'm like, I get to go. You know, a couple years later, but I still got to go. So, but no, I look forward to planning next year and starting early.
Right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for performing.
And
Thanks.
these are for Noreen and
Yes.
Patty Mann.
Save the band.
Our head of the trip was our DC.
No, it's for Beth.
I have one for Beth.
We have one for
I
Beth.
have one for Beth. I do have one for Beth.
Oh yeah.
I've got her taken care of. This is for me to you guys. Thank you.
I had one quick question. It seems like it was a phenomenal opportunity, but it also seemed like a majority of the 8th graders didn't go. Was there any poll or survey or something to see why they didn't go, so that hopefully we can see what those reasons were to try and eliminate some of them so that more can go next year?
We did several surveys leading up to these trips. That's when we decided to do both Springfield and DC. So we had both those opportunities. It's myriad reasons. I know that my own children didn't go on their Washington trip because they just simply were not comfortable spending the night away from their parents, and that it can be a thing. And so certainly that's a part of it. Financial issues, all sorts of reasons, But I certainly want to start earlier this year so that people can, budget and put in place. The company that I go through takes payment plan, so that's not a problem through them.
It just seemed like I said, it was such a great experience.
It is. It's really phenomenal.
Yeah,
and
to have, 90 kids not go.
Right.
Just to see why, to try and increase those numbers. I mean, I know my son just didn't want to go. And there was no reason, rhyme or reason, he just didn't want to, and I'm sure there's quite a few kids that fell into that, but if there were other reasons.
Well, and also I think that students will, once they hear about it, right? So these kids came back and they spoke so highly of it and had a great time, and, that helps too.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. We're ready to the administrator reports. Dr. O'Malley.
So I pretty much spoke about the budget and the fees, and I presented my letter.
Any questions for Dr. O'Malley? Thank you. Board committees, board policy and development. We have our third reading and final approval. Any questions about board policies? Thank you. Buildings and grounds.
Okay, well, Mike and I will take this. We'll ping pong off of each other. We met tonight before the scheduled meeting. The weather is definitely upon us now, so our buildings are being monitored closely with air conditioning, and we're trying to maintain a level of comfort that, hopefully we'll be able to save some money through energy costs. We had safety and security, some under that category. We had a walkthrough of our buildings on May 22nd from Gallagher and Bassett, which is the West 40 group. And there were some things that were noted that needed repair, but the list was bigger in previous years due to the fact that we had industrial art rooms, and those obviously were not code compliant, but with the elimination or the removal of industrial arts, that the list was very minimal. So just a few things we need to tidy up on over the summer. When we talk about safety and security, we do have an arrangement it was in place while we were in school. Norwich Police Department from Mayor Chamorro was directing police officers to walk through the buildings at both Giles and Lee roughly about 3 times a day, just walking, just checking, making sure everything's okay in their route of their day. The communications committee will touch up on that in our report. Jen will talk about that, but there's some follow-up, and we're going to continue to hopefully have that next year as we start the new school year. We redid our emergency exit maps at both schools. I know Lee's is done. Giles, we just got to finalize a few details and put it on paper, but for the most part, it's done. We've had to do some fobs for the lower level doors. The gate work outside of Lee, where the 2 through 4 entrance and exit is. We haven't started that project yet, but should be starting soon. Just in case anybody, this is FYI, Chris Szymanski, the head of the Norwich Park District Daycare Program, has officially retired, and there is now a new supervisor over there. Her name is Lupe, right?
It's
Lupe.
on the Park District.
Okay.
It's under the,
Sorry.
the
Okay.
budget.
Budget. We're under buildings and grounds. We're under budget. We still have some monies left over that we did not use when we converted to grade centers. So I think those monies were allocated and moved around to reflect some of the new things we're going to do over the summer, which is desperately upgrading the phones in both buildings, which we need. And
The fire alarms.
and then
also.
the fire alarms in our 5th grade wing, we need to complete that. GSF, which is our cleaning company, we're renewing their contract for another year. They're doing a great job for us, and they've kept our buildings clean. And we've had minimal absences during some peak times in the year when kids were out sick. So, I mean, that's a true testament to how well they're cleaning our buildings. What else, Mike? What else did we talk about?
Well, we had the energy walkthrough that we're working on with the energy company. If you look outside here in the front, the gardens, the beds, some of the that took and did with the stones and the rocks with the flowers, the rock garden out over here. It turned out, looks really nice. So maybe on the way out, you could take a look at it if you didn't see it on the way in. Also, to Franco, the plumbing company, just a shout out to him. He's done a very good job in keeping our costs down low, and has been very responsive to our needs and helping us come through. We talked about the June 18th will be the energy, pending the energy study that was done on June 18th. We'll have more to report on that with that. And then just a few other things. The custodians will be working on the cleanup for the summer months, and they'll be here. We're not going to have a problem again with the weeds. Pater has his, our buildings and ground director has his license, but we're waiting for the certificate to come in the mail for him, and then we will not have a problem. But if you notice, the grounds have been kept up, and they have been kept up nicely right now, and they will be, so we won't run into a problem with that. And just as Mr. Biondo said, the phones and the fire alarms over here in this wing for the 5th graders is going to be a major concern, trying to get that done and before the school starts, hopefully.
And that's just some of the, just a big scope of some of the projects we're going to work on over the summer. We're moving 24 teachers, 8 between the schools, 5 new teachers. We have a sensory room, which we started last year, but we did not complete it, so we will complete it in July. And just normal summer work, waxing, furniture repair, the lawn care, HVAC preventative maintenance work. Also, I'd like to announce that we received a letter from a parent organization, which I will share and read with the attendees. It was addressed to the board and Dr. O'Malley from a parent who has 3 children in the district that will be attending Lee School this August. I am also a lifelong member of Norwich. Due to the frequent amount of school shootings that have happened over the last decades, I believe that security upgrades need to be made to both Lee and Giles. I am writing this letter on behalf of a group of parents that feel the same way as myself. I looked into forming an educational foundation months ago and feel that our community could greatly benefit from this. We are deeply concerned and want to begin fundraising immediately. The name of this foundation that will be doing the fundraising is Norwich School Foundation. We will be specifically fundraising for safety, health, and security issues. We will not publicly point out security issues about either building. We do not want to cause any harm or draw any attention to unnecessary safety concerns in both buildings. The group has discussed fundraising on behalf of this cause. Money that is raised for this cause would be strictly used to enhance security measures, starting with the front entrances of both buildings. District Policy 8.80, Paragraph 1, indicates that educational foundations, other entities, or individuals should obtain a pre-acceptance commitment letter from the district before identifying the district. Any school or any program or activity as the beneficiary of such fundraising attempts, including internet fundraising attempts. The group respectfully requests the district to provide a pre-acceptance commitment letter so they can start their fundraising efforts. If you have any questions or concerns, the author of this letter is Ms. Fiona Tanney. And due to the fact that we just received this letter over the weekend, unfortunately, we cannot do we acknowledge it. We will not be able to do the.
We'll go over it in new business.
Yeah, and we'll approve it in July.
We'll go over it. We'll go over the options in new business.
Okay. So that's all Buildings and Grounds has.
Any questions for Buildings and Grounds? When or have we already gotten bids or quotes to fix the phone system and for the alarms here at Giles?
Yes.
And when can we expect to start that work?
Over the summer, shortly. Yeah.
Okay.
That was the intention.
Yeah. We
Great.
needed
To start
to.
moving forward with that.
Thank you. Communications? Great.
Go ahead.
Okay. Hold on. Let me just grab that. Okay. So the communications committee met with. Well, at the last meeting, the topic of conversation was safety in our buildings, and Ms. Fiona Tanney brought to the board's attention possibly us seeking the COPS grant through the village. So myself and Jen and Dr. O'Malley met with Mayor Shamora and Chief Dave Disselhorst to discuss the COP grant. Give me a second. I will pull up my notes on that because
that I have.
Okay, and there are some dot points that we discussed. And Jen, go ahead.
The COPS grant is what would allow this village, to apply to provide security for the schools, armed police officers. However, Chief Disselhorst had done some research, and the only schools that were getting it, each school had to have over 1,000 students in it. Any school that had under 1,000 students was not getting that grant. But then they continued to dig further into the process of applying for it and found out that this state has suspended this grant until further notice. So even if we were to go ahead and try, they're not issuing it right now. As Pasquale had said, the police department does stop by each of the schools 3 times a day. And does random walkthroughs, and they're hoping to continue doing that into next year. They did point out that the village is paying for the crossing guards for our school district, which is about $100,000 a year that they are doing. They said that 2 police officers, if we were to go to that route for the schools, would be at minimum $125,000 per year per school. Per officer, so that would be a $250,000 fee cost that we would have to absorb to some degree, because even though they do supply an SRO officer to the high school, there is an arrangement, an intergovernmental agreement that the high school pays for that.